Okay, here's the video.
Why isn't it going back?
Okay, there's Jonah. There's Kate. And here's
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins. Is that all you need on that video, the proof? Should I stop it now?
No, now we'll do the presentation.
I have no idea if it got me or not.
Okay, sit down.
Who? Oh,
And
all right.
Kate.
Have a seat. Strapling laddies.
Okay. Kate, can you time me?
Is that turned on? No, okay, does it work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Recently, my youngest two daughters discovered one of my favorite childhood book series, Amelia Bedelia by Peggy Parrish. In this book, Amelia Bedelia is hired to be a new maid for Mr. and Mrs. Rogers. She is very excited for her new job and excited to be cleaning such a nice home. Unexpectedly, Mr. and Mrs. Rogers have obligations for her first day of work, so they leave her with the to-do list. Amelia Bedelia gets right to work. She does everything on the list and makes a lemon meringue pie as well. My daughters and I will laugh when we see how Amelia Bedelia, despite her proclaimed lack of artistic talent, attempt to draw the drapes. And then she goes on and uses Mrs. Rogers' dusting powder, which she found in the bathroom, to thoroughly dust all of the furniture. But I think our favorite part is what she does when she is asked to dress the chicken. So this book is highly entertaining. So it surprised me when one of the pictures made me choke up a little bit. In this picture, you can see Amelia Bedelia. She is so excited about what she has done. You can just see the pride in her work in her face. She has worked hard, done everything on the list, and even figured out how to do things she doesn't feel that she's good at doing. She is sure that Mrs. Rogers is going to be impressed. But when you see Mrs. Rogers' face, you know that's not the truth. Mrs. Rogers is horrified. She expected to come home to a clean house and dinner prepped and ready to go in the oven. Instead, her furniture is dustier than it's ever been. The sun is shining through the windows and fading that furniture, and her chicken does not look the least bit appetizing. Amelia Bedelia has horrified Mrs. Rogers. One reason this picture made me a little emotional is because I have felt like Amelia Bedelia and Mrs. Rogers. You probably have too. Think of a time when you thought you did really well on an assignment or test, or that you had made a delicious dinner, only to find out that you got a bad grade and that no one in your family liked what you had made. That is the kind of feeling Amelia Bedelia must have. I've also felt like Mrs. Rogers. For example, one day my daughter came in and said, "I've done my bestest writing," only to show me that she had used permanent marker to write her name on furniture, walls, and even the carpet. I was horrified and probably looked like Amelia Bedelia, or like Mrs. Rogers. Another reason this picture is a little emotional for me is because I have seen Amelia Bedelia's look on my son Christopher's face. Like Amelia Bedelia, he has a different perspective on life. He is more literal. He sees things differently than most of the rest of our family. And even though he's very intelligent, sometimes he struggles. He has autism. As of 2014, 1 in 59 children in the United States are diagnosed with autism. This number has been growing steadily. In 1999, it was 1 in 1,000 children, and in 1970, that number was 1 in 10,000. Almost all of those who are diagnosed now that were not then are of average to above average intelligence. It It makes me wonder how Peggy Parrish in 1963 wrote a book that resonates with those families who are touched by autism. Perhaps it is because, as one of her students said to her, "Miss Parrish, you haven't done nothing but write about yourself." Perhaps Peggy Parrish has an inside view of what it's like to be an adult on the autism spectrum. She shares things about Amelia Bedelia in her book that researchers and autism specialists today have found in their research. For example, Amelia Bedelia was a very hard worker. She went right to work even though she was not being supervised and continued to work until everything was done. The autism specialist for Chase Banks has found that on average, the autistic workers at their company do from 48% to 140% more work than their other employees. That's an impressive statistic. That means they are doing as much work as 1.5 to 2.5 other employees. In addition, a specialist in Australia who researches autism in the workplace has found that those with autism are more likely to find innovative solutions to difficult problems and to innovate new products and services than other workers. He believes this is because they have a slightly different outlook on life and that they are able to do very repetitive work without losing concentration. Autism spectrum workers are able to work smart. Despite this, 73% of those on the autism spectrum who are seeking work are unemployed. This is the highest level of unemployment of all disabilities. In fact, those who have intellectual disabilities are more likely to be employed, including those who have both intellectual disabilities and autism. This is illustrated by looking at those with bachelor's degrees or more in their employment rates. Among the general population, the unemployment rate for those who have graduated from college is 2%, but among those with autism, it is a staggering 85% who are seeking for work but still unemployed. Why is this? Many think that it is because of the lack of social skills, which is one of the markers for autism. Just as Amelia Bedelia is not able to read Mrs. Rogers' expressions, those who are in an interview can't tell how what they're saying is coming across. Most of us in an interview will adjust to the interviewer, but those with autism struggle to do so. They do not interview well. Because of this, employers like Chase Bank and Microsoft, who actively pursue hiring autistic young adults and adults to work for them, use a different process. They use the working interview. They will have prospective employees come in for several hours to several days and work with teams at Microsoft or Chase. During this process, they are able to discern what skills the employees have and where or if they will fit into this company. This has been a very successful strategy, and they have found that they have many autistic employees who are able to work well in the company. Now, the most impressive quote that I read, and the one that sums everything up, is by Denise Resnick, who is the founder of the Southwest Center for Autism Research. She said that over and over she hears from the employers who are hiring the autism spectrum adults that they find these employees to be the first there, the last to leave, the hardest workers, and the ones that bring out the best in all of the other employees. Bring out the best at your workplace. Thank you.